Originally released in 1974, the Oberheim SEM, or Synthesizer Expander Module, was designed to accompany the Oberheim DS2 sequencer and enable the creation of great sounding monophonic sequences over which a keyboard player would noodle away on their ARP 2600 or Mini Moog. To that end, Tom Oberheim designed the SEM to be capable but simple to use.
I sat down and did a layout of what I consider the absolute minimum synthesizer that was worth a damn. And my engineer at the time, Jim Cooper, and I started putting this together. I knew from having met Dave Rossum that he had solved the oscillator drift problem. And I knew about one of the filter modules at 2500 because this engineer who I never met, Dennis Colin, had given a paper on it at AES. Then I said, well, Mini Moogs and ARP 2600s and Odysseys, whatever, they all have a 4-pole filter. Odyssey might have had a 2-pole filter for a while, I'm not sure. So why not do a different filter like this one that Dennis Colin gave a paper on, and I looked up the references that he gave and found that not only do you get you have a low pass, but for free you get a high pass, and with just one pot you can get a mix of the two.
The combination of great engineering and straightforward functionality set the SEM apart from anything else out there. It also became the vital organs of the subsequent Oberheim instruments, which chained together multiple monophonic SEMs to create the duophonic Oberheim 2-voice, the 4-voice polyphonic Oberheim 4-voice, and the king of the heap, the magnificent Oberheim 8-voice, offering, yep, you've guessed it, 8-voice polyphony. In every configuration, its awesome sound and simple approach to synthesis helped shape the music of seminal artists over the next 40 plus years, including Prince, Joe Zawinul, Stevie Wonder, Lyle Mays, Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock, Vince Clarke, Radiohead, and many, many more. And despite it being discontinued in 1979, around the release of the OBX, it remains as relevant and sought after today as it did back in the 70s. In fact, so much so that around 2008, Tom was persuaded by fellow industry icon Roger Lynn to remake it.
So I thought, okay, I started working, and then a couple of weeks later I said, okay, Roger, I think that's a good idea, but I've got a lot of ideas how I can make it better. Roger said, don't change it. Okay.
These latter SEMs retained the same circuitry and layout as the originals, and proved once again that there is beauty in simplicity. Why? Well, because they sold by the bucket load, and even prompted Tom to reintroduce the 2-voice under the guise of the 2-voice Pro. After the success of the Oberheim endorsed and award-winning GForce OBE, we decided to explore the idea of carving out a single SEM in order to introduce computer-based musicians to its simple operational architecture and sublimely authentic sound. This is the only SEM officially endorsed by Tom Oberheim, and to that end we have deliberately chosen not to make it polyphonic. Why? Because the original instrument was monophonic, and being forced to think in terms of bass lines and melody lines is what we hope will inspire everyone from hobbyists to pro producers and songwriters. With Tom's consent, we've added some additional functionality. For starters, we have 3 oscillators instead of the original's 2, and one of these can act as either an additional LFO or VCO. Plus, we've added a really easy to use arpeggiator and simple scratch pad step time sequencer. Of course, our hope is those who are inspired by the SEM will use it as a gateway drug to the flagship polyphonic OBE. But even as a single module, the SEM is highly inspirational and a valid musical tool in its own right, and illustrates that there is beauty not only in simplicity but in limitations. Something clearly proven by Tom Oberheim back in 1974.